Your body's 3 salivary glands produce almost this much saliva for digestion. That saliva helps food descend through your pharynx or throat, which is divided into 3 parts. When you exercise, you may sometimes breathe through your nose. When you do so, you are utilizing your nasopharynx, which is part of your respiratory system. Digestion is dependent on the oropharynx, which is at the end of the mouth, and the laryngopharynx, which leads to the esophagus.
The esophagus is basically a tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. So it's just a tube through which food travels.
The esophagus is approximately 10 inches long and conducts food to the stomach via wave-like contractions called peristalsis. Peristalsis is the body's major means of propelling food through the digestive system. Because food is only in the pharynx and esophagus for 10 seconds, no major absorption or digestion occurs there. It's in the stomach where the real intricacies of turning food into energy begin. I'm Kim Clay reporting.
Your digestive tract is also known as your gastrointestinal tract, or GI tract. It extends from the mouth to the anus. Organs of the digestive tract include the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. Other accessory structures aid in the chemical breakdown of food. Your brain is involved in digestion too. In the hypothalamus, clusters of nerves help control your food intake. Chewing and saliva aid in the breakdown of food. Saliva adds enzymes to food, helping to break it down into a usable form. Digestion is also dependent on the oropharynx, laryngopharynx, and esophagus. These structures help move food to the stomach. Remember, the 5 elements of the digestive process are ingestion, peristalsis, digestion, absorption, and defecation.
The stomach is a remarkable organ. It's located on the left side of the abdominal cavity. It is a sun-shaped organ, nearly hidden by the liver and the diaphragm. Like the esophagus, the stomach is approximately 10 inches long, but its diameter, like that of this balloon, depends on how much food, or in the case of the balloon, how much air it contains. When full, it can hold about 1 gallon of food. When empty, it collapses inward on itself, much like a deflated balloon. In essence, the stomach acts as a temporary storage tank for food, as well as a site for food breakdown. The muscle arrangement of the stomach allows it to churn, mix, and pummel food, as well as get it moving along the GI tract. These actions break down food into even smaller fragments and mix it together with enzymes. In addition, the gastric glands secrete gastric juice and hydrochloric acid, which help break down protein and kill germs.
Take a look at your car battery if you're interested in the acidity of your stomach. Your stomach's pH, or acidity, is approximately 2. That's nearly as concentrated as the sulfuric acid in your car battery. It's strong enough to burn holes in your clothes. It's certainly potent enough to dissolve vitamins and minerals, as well as sugar, which then go directly into your blood.
Like the cement inside a mixer, the food inside the stomach is broken down and processed until it becomes chyme, which is a substance that resembles heavy cream. The chyme leaves the mixing action of the stomach via the pyloric sphincter. The emptying rate of the stomach chyme depends on the strength of the stomach's peristaltic wave. The continued wave keeps the gastric opening cleared, and as the waves get stronger, they mix chyme and push the contents toward the pyloric sphincter en route to the small intestine. There are a number of factors that slow the rate of the emptying of the stomach. These include a high volume of chyme already in the small intestine, a very acidic pH in the small intestine, and a high volume of fat in the small intestine. The small intestine is critical to the performance of your body. As Pat Laurie tells us, the small intestine is the place where nearly all food absorption occurs.
Students at the Yale University Medical School have heard many lectures about the small intestine. Some of these students will become physicians specializing in the surgical and medical treatment of disorders of the GI tract, including the small intestine. It is a critically important specialty given the importance of the convoluted tube, which extends from the pyloric sphincter to the ileocecal valve.
The ileocecal valve is a valve that's located right at the end of the small intestine, and in essence is an opening that leads from the small intestine to the large intestine.
The small intestine is divided into 3 sectors, which are distinguished by the location in which substances are absorbed. These sectors are 1. The duodenum, where the absorption of iron and calcium are most active. 2nd, the jejunum, where the complete absorption of proteins and carbohydrates takes place. And finally, the ileum, where the absorption of fats, bile salts, and vitamin B12 occurs.
Chemical digestion of food is where chemicals such as enzymes begin to break down food into its more simplistic components so it can be used for nutrition for the body.
The small intestine is only able to process a small amount of food at a time. The pyloric sphincter controls food movement into the small intestine from the stomach, preventing it from becoming overwhelmed. The small intestine is vital for the processing of food. It puts more enzymes into food, enabling solids to break down further until its particles are small enough to go into the blood. Your blood then carries these food particles to all parts of your body. Because of this, it requires a great deal of space to carry out its functions. Now, in order to accomplish this, the small intestine is able to increase its surface area by about 600 times. In fact, the surface area of this house is measured at 2,700 square feet. That's the same square footage as the surface area of the small intestine. Like moving through the rooms in a house, enzymes produced by the pancreas and bile from the liver pass through the pancreatic duct and bile duct and into the duodenum and then into the small intestine. This completes the chemical breakdown of food. But how does your 18-foot-long small intestine expand to the area of a small house?
The small intestine is really a long, very long tube. And if the tube were to be flat, the surface area of the tube wouldn't be that much. But what happens is the small intestine is in essence squished into a shorter tube. And because of that, there are a whole bunch of redundant folds along the small intestine. And those redundant folds are known as villi. And the villi then in essence allows the small intestine to increase its surface area and thereby be able to absorb more nutrients.
Your small intestine contains millions of tiny villi. There are also millions more ultrafine microvilli that exist, which cover the villi, giving the lining of the small intestine its brush-like appearance. In addition to villi and microvilli, the small intestine also has circular folds which increase its absorptive surface. In fact, the small intestine is sponge-like. It has so much surface area that it can absorb 9 quarts of liquid per day. It may be called the small intestine, but it's clear that it has an enormous role in your digestive system's power plant.
As you'll recall, your stomach is located on the left side of your abdominal cavity. It acts as a temporary storage tank for food. Your stomach breaks down food through churning, mixing, and pummeling actions. Your stomach also secretes gastric juices and hydrochloric acid, which break down proteins and kill germs. When food has been completely broken down by the stomach, it is called chyme. Chyme moves from the stomach through the pyloric sphincter and into the small intestine. Your small intestine is divided into 3 parts: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. These parts prepare chyme to move into the cells of your body. Most food absorption occurs in the small intestine. The small intestine is a major digestive organ. Structures known as villi, microvilli, and circular folds help it to increase its surface area by almost 600 times.
It's clear that the